Cian, firstly, I know you don't like the limelight, but this week it will be all about you. How are you trying to make sure you enjoy it?
It's all about the 150th anniversary, and I'm here to support that and celebrate that, and I will also enjoy my milestone if it comes about.
Do you still love the game as much as you did when you were playing junior cups and senior cups with Belvedere?
Yeah, I do. I love the game, the team environment, the being part of a group that are all on the same path and part of challenging things, and it's addictive to be a part of, and something I'm in love with.
In love with. I spoke to Rob Carney yesterday and I said, what's he actually like? And he said, Stu, he's got more hobbies than anyone will ever know. Can you give us a few of them?
I've done a bit of everything. I used to paint like portraits and stuff, then more recently moved into handmade knives, like chef knives, and that's one of the ones I'm kind of pigeonholed in on a bit at the moment when I get a bit of time. Anything on the creative side that I get to lose myself in for a couple of hours, I'm into it. Just it's a switch off from what rugby stresses have and where your mind might go thinking about games and stuff. If I can just disappear into something where I make something that will last, that's nice for me. That's
interesting. So it's worked on the pitch and off the pitch. It keeps you happy and it gives you something to do which you care about.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's important to have something, like a lot of people would have studies or whatnot, but something on the creative side that it's a completely different switch off, and it lets you loose with what you might want to do and how you might want to make something look or behave, or it's nice.
What makes Cian Healy tick?
A lot of things. Family, friends, rugby success in rugby, moments, just feeling good. There's so much to what makes anyone a tick. I think to go directly in on a handful of things is very hard.
You had a family a couple of years ago, a couple of kids now, got married a while back. Having kids, perspective, how important has that been for you the last couple of years with the pressures of rugby?
I suppose it takes your mind away from anything when you get in the door and you turn to dad mode and husband mode, and you don't bring the baggage inside the house, sort of thing. And you know, I get my review done at home, don't get me wrong, but I'd select my times when I do that and make sure it's not interfering with family time and what's important to being at home with the boys and with Laura.
Take us back, 2007, you make your Leinster debut against the Reavers, then 2009, Croke Park against Australia. What's Cian Healy thinking that day, and what's he like?
Nice to make debut on the north side of the city. That was a big one. That was good. I enjoyed that. Very different person, I suppose, in how I prepared and how I looked after my body and how professional I was. I wasn't much of a professional back then, and through the years of working with coaches and being with different players, and someone like Jamie Heaslip, who I roomed with for 10 years, would have had big influences on how I hold myself now and how professional I can be and what preparation actually looks like.
So at the start, was it you were just great with a lot of talent, or how did you not get that balance right in your eyes?
I suppose it was just successful in what I wanted to do and not a hell of a lot of rules around it. So my mates were in college, I went out on nights out with them. I did what they did, like I did your Saturday night, maybe a few Tuesday night pints, things that you just don't get away with now and your body can't handle. So, you know, you had to learn the hard way, I suppose.
When did you start to feel at home in this Irish jersey?
day one. Felt good. Felt like it was where I wanted to be. I was only talking to Cian Frawley there that I've never sat in a selection meeting and felt comfortable. And that's probably part of why I've lasted a bit. I suppose I've constantly had a guard up that I had to be getting better and doing more and not just sitting and accepting what it was. So it's never been a comfortable sit still, and I am at home here. It's always continuously trying to do something a bit better or get a bit better or understand something more.
So in the 133 caps, you've always been not fearful of your place, but concerned that you want to keep it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Must be a lot that goes through the brain then, week in, week out playing rugby.
Yeah, there is, and I suppose that's part of the challenge of professional rugby. There's so many athletes that come out of school and come into the environment and might not be prepared for the stress, and maybe not stress is probably the wrong word, might not be prepared for how much work it actually is and how you have to navigate things and what your week would look like as a professional player, and how much you have to maybe factor in if you have media, if you have an appearance to do for a team sponsor, things like that they're not just you play the game and then there's the sideshow that you have to, I suppose, nail down as well.
A couple of years later, in 2013, you go on a Lions tour. At the time, people are saying you're the best loose head in the world. How do you deal with praise like that? And throughout your career?
I don't know. I've been pretty good at self-evaluation, I suppose, over the years, and in and around then I knew I was good at what I did. I had flaws in the game, of course, but I knew I was a good player, and that alone stands to me that, you know, I'm doing something right here, and continue on this vein and keep adding to it is how my mindset goes there. And I've kind of tended to steer away from what people said or media said or any of that, because at the end of the day it's me and coaches and teammates. That's where my judgment will come from, and if the coach doesn't think you're good enough, you have to go off and work on something to be good enough. And you could get any false sense, good or bad, from reading papers and stuff.
You talk about coaches. John Fogarty said a couple of weeks ago, you're an incredible competitor. That day against Scotland, he was worried. You come in at hooker, win a couple of scrum penalties, but your mentality has always set you above. Has it always been so strong since a kid?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I suppose I would say it's evolved over the years, definitely, and I'm very comfortable in my skin and ability in the game of what I can do and what I can't do, and what I was and what I now am. I have a very good understanding of that. So if a challenge is put to me, I know immediately if I can have a good crack at it or if it's maybe a bit beyond me.
You talk about challenges there. 2015, well known, neck surgery, signed retirement papers, if I've read or I'm correct there. You couldn't sign autographs or even write with one of your hands, is that correct?
Yeah. My first part of my learning process back then was to write my name and address again, which was tricky. It's kind of looked like a 3 or 4 year old writing and couldn't really string the sentence together on the page. But you know, after I suppose it was 4 months of the injury. I started to get flickers in my hand again and nerve signals coming back. So that was the signal to keep going and chase after it.
How dark were the darkest of days there?
Pretty bad, but I suppose when I made the decision to go for it and continue, I've already seen the bad days and I've already done the hard work. So you just struck on with an end goal in sight, and that end goal is not only rugby, it's off the field, it's health, it's how functional your body is for the rest of your life. So it's an easy decision to keep rehabbing and to keep working on strength, and I think it also just adds a little bit of mental strength to you when you have to do a little bit of a battle like that.
Outside of the caps, is that the most thing you're proud of? The recovery, do you have the ice bath in the house and the sauna in the garden, but the recovery is so key to everything you do?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, there's like I would have a good mobility schedule that I would do a lot of the evenings, or some part of the day I'd have 30-40 minutes of stretching and making sure everything is limber enough, and how you plan your stretching and what you need to work on and stuff. That's been kind of ever present throughout, I suppose, since maybe 2013ish. Since then I figured out I was probably a little bit stiffer than I was supposed to be, and it's a couple of years of playing professional rugby by then, so I need to limber up here and make sure the hips are good and the back is good, and I definitely think that's kept me on the lower side of injuries, where injuries might be my ones might have been more severe, but I've had a lot less soft tissue injuries and stuff, so they're the avoidable ones, and I've managed to escape a good few.
So you are a dad at home, but you also bring rugby as well and make sure you do your stretches?
Yeah, no, I'd stretch with the boys a little bit. I'm trying to teach them about it, but it's a bit of crack. It's fun before their bedtime.
When you do get onto the pitch on Saturday and become the most capped Irish player of all time, what would be your first thoughts?
Is it a scrum or is it a line out? I'd say. What do I have to do here? Something along those lines. I don't know. You don't know where your mind will take you in a game. What you're preparing for, what you're looking at is what you're seeing during your time on the bench. So, we have conversations as a bench and see what the trend of the game is looking like and where we might be able to impact it. So it'll be about what I can do to get us a win or get us a stronger position or deal with a scrum or whatever.
Even from that answer I can tell it's all about the team, but at some stage you'll look back and think of your family and everyone that helped you along the way.
Yeah, at some stage. I'll enjoy the moment and what happens, and I'll have my family in the stands, and I won't live in that for too long. I'll stay in the present of it and enjoy the moment that it is, and we'll have nice pictures and memories to talk about down the line.
As a kid, I'm sure you dreamt of playing for Ireland, which you've very successfully done. When did the most capped come into your head?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I suppose it goes with the selection thing that I was talking about, where you're constantly not sure. I've treated most games like they could be my last game, so I've never really looked as far ahead as something like that. It's only in the last number of weeks when it started to get talked about is when it was properly a possibility, but I could have picked up an injury in training or in a game, so I tend not to let myself go that far.
That's fascinating, taking every game like your last one, or it could be. Must be difficult to balance in the brain, that.
That's a nice way to go into it, because you're not saving yourself for anything. And how attritional rugby is now, I don't think you can go in with a mindset to save yourself for anything. So if I know I'm giving my best and going for whatever time I have on the pitch, I can walk off the pitch fairly happy.
What does it feel like to be in the greats of Irish rugby? Willie, John McBride, Mike Gibson, O'Driscoll, O'Connell. How does that sit with Cian Healy?
I view it so differently. It's mad. Like people like Drico and Sexto and stuff, those to me are the greats, and Paulie and all that from the past. I think it's different from having the durability to continue to play this many times from being a great. It's
hard to consider yourself as a great.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Last couple from me. Any regrets in an Irish shirt?
I'm sure there are. Yeah, like there's a few misdemeanors here and there, and I think if you say it's a regret, but you did it in the heat of a moment, you're probably not being genuine as it is a regret. I've made mistakes. I wish I didn't make those mistakes. Wish I was more calm-headed, but I think that probably reflected on where I was at and not fully acting like a professional, I suppose, with some yellow cards and stuff like that. Bit more professional early on in my career would have been helpful, but there was also a learning curve to fit into the role that it was.
2 Grand Slams, 5 Six Nations, a number of Triple Crowns. Any favourite moments in an Irish jersey so far?
First cap is always incredibly special, and doing it in Croke or somewhere a little bit different, that always stands out to me, and it's a memory. Then South Africa then as the second game up, the two of those stand out fairly high. Six Nations, like championships and winning and success with the team, and the couple of days of the team being together before and after those, where the swerves and emotions are just so high and so low and all over the place. They're great things to be a part of.
And finally, Johnny went to 39, Alan win 38. Can you catch James Slipper in 140?
Games? No.
Leave
him off.
Cian Healy, thanks so much for your time and enjoy Saturday.
Cheers. Thanks very much.